A legend returned, and so does the podcast. Welcome to the latest episode of Talking Tottenham with myself, Ryan Taylor, and Alasdair Gold. Talking Tottenham is sponsored by NordVPN. Ali, back-to-back wins, back-to-back clean sheets. Spurs are back, aren't they?
Well, it might be premature, but it certainly feels better. We'll go with that. I think the difference is they're beating teams that they should be beating, and that wasn't exactly happening, especially at home. So, yeah, two, quite convincing victories as well. And like you said at the top of it all, a legend returned.
Exactly. I feel like Tuesday night was the perfect kind of evening. With Son coming back, you kind of feared that, if Spurs weren't to win, it would have been one of those kind of disastrous classic Tottenham evenings. But feels like there's some real momentum building now under Thomas Frank. And I know the kind of narrative has changed probably since the last episode of the podcast, but it has been a really positive kind of 8 days or so. Back-to-back home wins, which is crucial heading into the trip to Forest on Sunday. How good was it to see Sonny back speaking on the pitch ahead of the game, and that fantastic mural as well on the high road?
Yeah, it's very cool. If anyone deserves that sort of stuff, it's Sonny. He is not only the nicest guy probably in the world, but, he gave 10 years of service to Spurs and finally was a captain that lifted a trophy after so long. He left on an absolute high. I was very fortunate enough to be there in Korea in his final game.
Yeah,
it's weird because technically, yes, his final game really was the final, and that is the way to go out on a high. But yes, his final non-competitive game in a Spurs shirt was the game against Newcastle in Seoul, and I think he needed this. He needed this. I'm not saying it's closure, like some kind of romantic relationship, but I think he just needed to say goodbye, and I think it was important for him to do that. And it's something I think they've been planning for a little while, and obviously now with the MLS season having come to its close, certainly, his time at LAFC having been pretty successful, really. He looked a bit Hollywoodized, I thought. He looked like, he's always a very smart man, but he looked like a guy that is now kind of living the LA life and in the spotlight over there. It did feel for a moment, I got a little pang of kind of like what Spurs were for a minute, I think, because it was such an occasion having him back. You and I are both kind of standing there. All the journalists were up, like filming it on their phones and everything, and the crowd were up. And because obviously we've got this thing, haven't we, where we've got to put stuff on the Spurs football.london Facebook page and stuff. And I was looking at some of the figures just for our couple of videos that we put up there. It's like 500,000 people looked at them.
Sonny, isn't it?
Them. It's Sonny. And that is it. And I feel like, I was saying this to another journalist the other day, that it almost feels like Spurs have kind of got to like rebrand and reinvent themselves, because they've had this period of time where they had Kane and Son, and everyone knew. If you knew Tottenham, you knew Sonny was there, and you knew Harry Kane played for them.
Yeah.
And it just gave a little taste of kind of what that was. And now I think we're kind of back at the stage where they maybe were under Poch originally, that he wasn't, he came from a team lower down the Premier League. He built Spurs up into something bigger, and I'm hopeful that that's what's going to happen with Thomas Frank. I would love to see that. But I think we've gone through the phase now of having star players, star managers like Mourinho and Conte and stuff, and now Spurs needs to almost build itself up again as an entity. And I'm not disparaging what's coming. We know Spurs have had a wonderful past with Bill Nick, Arthur Rowe, and all the double winnings, the first team to win, a British team to win a European trophy and everything. But certainly in the modern era, I think they need building up again. And just seeing Sonny on the pitch, it just kind of brought back all of that again. And just great fun to see him out there. He said, I'll always be Spurs. Had his little chat with us, the fans. I do wish the Slavia fans had kind of recognised what was happening. And it's like, I know they're having a good time, but come on, this is like a superstar comeback. But no, it was lovely. And he was quite, he had a bit of fun, I think, off the pitch as well, in the dressing room after the game, in the tunnel, and just looked really happy to be back, didn't he?
He did. And one thing I found really interesting, I totally agree with what you say there. And it really did hammer home that this, sometimes I was looking at Son out on that pitch as he was speaking, and I was thinking, the fact he will never play for Spurs again. I know he departed so long ago, but it still feels a bit surreal, just because for the past decade, that's what we've been so accustomed to. He's been the kind of poster boy outside of Harry Kane of this Spurs sort of era. But one thing that struck me was I was in the mix zone and I was speaking to a few of the Spurs communication staff, and they were saying, we've received requests about speaking to Sonny, and they were saying technically he's not our player. It feels so weird, but we can't actually cater for media making requests to speak to Son because he plays for LAFC, and he's it's up to him what media he does. Obviously, there was a lot of South Korean journalists there, as they've always been throughout Son's time at Tottenham, but he's just such a brilliant character, and I totally agree that it kind of is now this sort of new era, and it's the chance for actually someone to step up and kind of be a similar kind of figure. I know he's irreplaceable in a sense, but I was actually thinking throughout the game as well, as Spurs were kind of pushing for more goals, Son would have filled his boots on Tuesday night. I mean, some of the chances. But let's touch upon two of the real positives on the pitch, particularly in those attacking positions. Someone who wears Sonny's shirt, Xavi, back-to-back goals now, really impressive. And Mohamed Kudus as well. I think since Xavi has signed, an incredible stat. All of the 8 games Spurs have won since Xavi has signed, he has started. So surely that's the way forward now for Spurs, Ali.
Well, it doesn't feel like it's rocket science. It feels like, I'm sure we were calling for it in the last podcast, and lo and behold, and look, I'm not saying that we're, really clever about this, because I think everyone was calling for him. It's just having a playmaker in your team. It's the difference from going from games when Spurs weren't even getting a shot on target in the first half for 4 in a row to suddenly, I think their chances, I think they had 31 shots at goal in the last 2 games. I think 17 shots on target. You could argue they should have scored more. There's actually showing that they're not finishing their chances.
I thought the goalkeeper was brilliant, to be fair, for Slavia, which feels crazy to say when he's conceded 3, but he made some top saves.
Reaction saves as well, some really, really, really good ones. I mean, I think the very first one after 35 seconds, Richarlison, he probably didn't know too much about. But from then on, I mean, I think his reaction save, he saved from Tell and Sarr, this little double save was superb. But yes, maybe we speak about this kind of reinvention of Tottenham. Maybe it is with Xavi and Kudus. Maybe that's the new 2 stars that can kind of pin this around. And that does, I was kind of thinking about this, it does kind of excite me, really, that you've got these 2 players who it feels like are like the hub of what everything kind of attacking wise goes through at Spurs, but then you've still got Kulusevski, Solanke, Maddison to come into that. That could be a front 5 with probably more additions as well. I would imagine I'd be stunned if we don't see another attacking addition next month coming along. And there's so many young players, the Odebears, the Tells that can come through. Brendan Johnson, last year's top scorer, to add to that as well. And Callum Moani, I think we've both been pretty impressed with as well. And Richarlison, there's
chipping in.
It was quite funny. I was watching some of the footage of him with Sonny afterwards, and he was like going, essentially saying, I won you the Europa League. And he was like, it was Brennan. He was like, but in the semi-final. And then he was going on about this picture on the wall in the corridor saying, look, legend, and the bus stop parade, the open top bus, and it was like Sonny looks at it. It was a picture of Richarlison. He's like, no, they're legends. They're legends.
I think, isn't it?
That's so funny. You actually, just going back, you were in the mix zone. Did you speak to any of the players about Sonny?
Yes, there was a few that stopped. Matthias Tell was kind of the main one that spoke for the longest, which was really interesting because obviously he was actually kind of a sub-story on Tuesday with being added to the Champions League squad after that heartbreak of being left out. And he was saying that Son was effectively like his big brother when he joined the club in January. We actually touched upon the fact that Spurs go to Frankfurt in the last Champions League game. And you will recall that Tell was actually pretty good that night. We were both in Frankfurt. And he is a kind of similar player in the sense that he likes coming inside from that left-hand channel. So he spoke very highly as well of Harry Kane. So I think it's good that Tell has had this kind of role model, even though Sonny's not at the club anymore. But some of the other kind of reviews that the Spurs players were giving on Sonny was it speaks volumes, really. Kudus, who was not with him very long, obviously. I believe there was a small crossover when he was on the club's pre-season tour.
Pre-season,
but he just said Son has showed us what it means to represent this badge. He's a exemplary professional. So Spurs, it's important that this Spurs team, even though there might not be a superstar in it at the moment, have someone to kind of aspire to, play like, and the standards that Sonny has set. Even though last season, he had a few injury problems and he wasn't at the heights that we previously saw of him, but he's such an important figure in the dressing room, and he's been so good. He's, I'm not a Tottenham fan, but I absolutely love him. He's a historic legend of the Premier League, and I feel grateful to have seen him in full flight, really. Yeah,
he's one of those people that even rival fans that I've spoken to, even from that club down the road, fans of that, it's like he's very difficult to dislike. Exactly. He really is one of those kind of guys, and having been very fortunate enough to kind of interview him over the years and stuff, and oh my goodness, I was in that press conference asking him about his decision to leave and stuff like that, and he handles himself with kind of such grace, really, with the amount of pressure that sits on his shoulders. Being an absolute icon for his country, it's like the responsibility he has just must be absolutely mad. But he always had this incredible lightness about the way he dealt with stuff, and he's just this joker. And some of the scenes, I love watching all the stuff that's kind of coming out from Spurs, of his little things. I think Xavi said, which I really liked, actually, he kind of paid tribute to Sonny, didn't he? But by saying, but with this number 7 now, I want to build my own legacy. And that's exactly like going back to what we were saying. I think that's where it's at now. And sometimes, look, Sonny was brilliant for Spurs. Harry Kane was brilliant for Spurs. But sometimes you can build a collective out of players that aren't such big names. And maybe sometimes as a whole, it can operate in different ways, sometimes better, sometimes not so. But I'm really intrigued to see how they go now and what happens and what he builds. And, the last couple of games have been promising. We've seen attacking build-up. We've seen players gelling. We've seen Xavi flitting between the lines, and I think it was really important on Tuesday night with the way that Slavia were kind of man-marking their press, just man-to-man coverage across the whole pitch. When you've got players like Xavi and Kudus who can beat a man within just a heartbeat, it's so important, isn't it, tactically?
It is, yeah. I think the thing that Xavi gives you, which has really been noticeable in the last 2 games, is just that ability to kind of disrupt the opposition's shape, because he likes to beat players. He gets in between the lines, and all of a sudden you have defenders sort of drawing out to try and tackle him, which leaves gaps for the forwards. And I just think Spurs have been missing a player like that. And I know we've touched upon Xavi in previous episodes, but I really see him as a player that can unlock so many things for Spurs, and that was effectively what he was signed to do. What have you made of his performances in the last 2 games, in the sense that, for me, while his ability on the ball stands out, I also love how he flies into tackles and presses, because a lot of people have said he's not ready for the physicality of the Premier League. But to me, that shows he's actually trying to get sort of stuck into that side of the ugly side of things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's a fighter. He's come through some very tough kind of academies, really, hasn't he? He's come through La Masia with Barcelona, where you've got to fight for everything. He's come through the PSG kind of youth ranks as well, where, I mean, we saw recently they beat Spurs under-19s who are flying. The PSG youth talent is among the best in the world, so he's had to fight there. And then he goes to Leipzig, and a lot of their game is about like the gegenpress, about running and things like that as well. So he's had to add all these different layers to his game as he's developed, and he's still only 22. So yeah, I think you see that in his play. I think he is very slight, and he will at times be knocked off the ball, but my goodness, he gives as good as he gets. And I fear we may end up with a red card at some point that just comes through over eagerness. And like, I mean, the goal against Brentford, that very easily could have been a high foot in winning the ball, trying to win. And I think we'll have a moment with it like that at some point. But I think that's just part and parcel of the tenacity he has. And I think you kind of trade the one red card for everything else it brings on the pitch. He may not do it. He may make me look really stupid. I hope he does. But I think he's just, like you said, he's got that Maddison ability to get the ball and pirouette and take himself away from a player.
Very agile.
100%. If you can do that in a man-to-man coverage opposition, it just rips it to pieces, because it's a very effective system when the players are panicked and they try and release the ball and they can't do it. But when you've got someone that can twist and beat a man, the knock-on natural effect is that one of the other guys has to come over and cover. And suddenly someone else is free, and it starts this domino effect of allowing you to counter and get up the pitch really quickly. Really impressive. I mean, it wasn't as showy as the Brentford performance. It wasn't as kind of much of a highlight one. But he certainly, he's got that little bit of magic in his boots. He is very much I think he probably fits into like the Van der Vaart mold, that kind of one. Probably with a better engine than Van der Vaart. I think Van der Vaart used to get a bit knackered about the hour mark, and I think we saw. I think it was Tuesday night, like 90th minute added time. He's making a pitch long run back to cover. And with no disrespect to Van der Vaart, who's one of my favourite Tottenham players ever, he would never have been able to do that probably in the 10th minute, let alone the 92nd, 93rd or whatever it was. So he's got a really lovely all-round game. It's just this is just the start, which is exciting. He's still gonna keep adapting and evolving into what his place is in with this team. And like I said, I love him playing centrally. On the left, I get it for certain matches, but centrally he can definitely link up with Kudus, and he's just incredibly exciting player.
It is. And just tying into what you said there, Ali, I know it's only kind of Brentford and Slavia, but there have been so many positives about Tottenham in the past couple of games. We've obviously been at the games, and I know Spurs could have probably conceded on Tuesday. Vicario made some decent stops, but back-to-back clean sheets now, just from a defensive perspective as well. How important has that been just for confidence alone? Because Spurs have looked really fragile over the past couple of months.
Yeah, I still didn't think they were amazing defensively. Certainly Tuesday night, I would say against Brentford on the whole, they dealt. I think it was only 4 shots, wasn't it? They had, I think. Whereas I felt like Slavia were quite dangerous on the counter, and there were a few occasions they got in behind, and like you said, Vic had to make 4 saves. But look, at the end of the day, keep the clean sheet. It breeds confidence. Same as the attacking and scoring the goals gets the attackers' confidence going. I think also the defence doing their bit and just getting up that clean sheet column, just tallying up the numbers, getting it going is such a big thing for them. And actually, Vicario got cheered again, didn't he, in the team lineup? And I think it's, I know, of course, it's a consequence of him playing well and the team playing well, but actually it's a circle, isn't it? It's like he's getting that boost from the fans before the game. He's probably kind of walking on cloud 9 when he goes into the game.
And 100%.
It's this cycle, isn't it? It's the perfect circle of support, winning, and it all feeds back into itself like a kind of a machine, really. But they've got tougher tests to come, I think, that defence. But certainly there's positives in there. And I quite liked aspects of the midfield as well. What did you make of the midfield?
Yes. I think maybe we're seeing a kind of changing of the guard at Spurs in the sense that Frank is now beginning to get really on board with having Archie Gray in there. I think we've been banging Gray's drum for a long time now, and I think he's just been kind of starved of those regular opportunities. But now we're seeing him actually complement both Bentancur and Polina, and actually Frank move away from having the kind of more experienced duo as a pivot, which I think is really important, just because Gray, when you watch Spurs over the past couple of games, he's one of those players that, the ball will 1 minute be somewhere, and then when it goes across the other side of the pitch, Gray's there again. It's kind of like every action, Gray is within the frame. And to me, that just showcases his kind of energy, which we knew he had in abundance. And, outside of that run where he played as a makeshift centre-back under Postecoglou, he hasn't played an awful lot of football. So for me, I think it's really important now that Spurs kind of tap into this momentum that he's built. I know there will have to be changes over the festive period, but I just think he's a really kind of different stylistic profile to maybe Bentancur and Polina, who I'd say Polina is obviously naturally more of a ball winner, and Bentancur is a little bit more mobile in the sense that you're more likely to see him sort of go box to box. But Gray is kind of the perfect blend of them for me, and there's still so many levels for him to climb. So I think that's something that I've been most excited about over the past couple of games. there has been so many positives, and I think Gray is right up there for me as one of those.
Yeah, it's about the blend, isn't it? That's all
Mm.
it is, really. And I think this is, I mean, we asked him a couple of weeks back, Thomas Frank, it might have even only been last week, like, do you know your best 11? He was like,
Yeah.
no. And then that's the key. He is still working out what works the best together. It's like finding the right ingredients to get the perfect cake, as it were.
Exactly.
And in that midfield, I think having Paulinho and Bentancur together, I mean, we all said it. It was experience, and you could grind out results away from home, but it's two slightly similar players mainly in the fact that they're not going to play progressive balls forward. Whereas when you have Archie Gray or even Lucas Bergvall alongside one of those two, and you have Xavi in front of them, suddenly you've got this beautiful blend, really. You've got one sitter who will just mop up behind. Then let's use Archie Gray as an example. You've got someone who is, like you said, box to box. He's tactically clever enough to cover for players and the fullbacks when they bomb on. He can come across and cover them. But also, he makes runs into the box, breaks in late. He's going to score his first goal for Spurs soon. It's definitely on the horizon. But he also can pick out a beautiful pass. I mean, it kind of went under the radar a little bit, but his ball to Porro, when Porro won the penalty, was inch perfect over the defender's head. And I think Bentancur and Paulinho can occasionally play those, but I think for Archie Gray, it's just a natural instinct. I think it is something he immediately sees. So you've got that kind of play, and then you've got the playmaker in Xavi that flits about up front and links the lines and everything. He's almost like, I think Spurs have been searching for years, haven't they, to find another Eriksen. Eriksen in his prime. And I think Xavi, so similar to the Van der Vaart comparison, he can bring that, but he also has something that Eriksen didn't. Eriksen was a great presser, but had no real, I think he'd be the first to admit, he was not a tackler. He was not someone that was going to put his foot in and win the ball back. So Xavi kind of brings that little added element. And so when you've got a sitter, a number 8, a box-to-box midfielder, and a playmaker, suddenly that midfield trio transforms. And the whole team responds around that. So, yeah, I really like the use of Archie Gray. I'm hoping this is his now first steps on this road forward. Still only 19. It's mad. And I mean, he must be coming up to, I'm just plucking it out of my head, but he must be around 60, 65 appearances for Spurs by now, despite the fact he is 19. He's been there for a season and a bit, which is absolutely mad. But all that exposure increases his development. And I think Bergvall will get chances there. I think we'll have these little periods where it will be kind of one or the other, and people go, oh, why isn't Lucas playing? Why isn't Archie playing? I think they'll just kind of flip back and forward, and eventually I would imagine they'll be playing together, and you'll see more of that. Because they are we talk about, at the top of this, about building a team who will become stars rather than they are stars now. And those two young players are right up there. And Pat Matasar as well. He's still got a hell of a lot of developing to do.
He does. Sarr is someone who, I mean, at the start of the season, when I was watching him, I was thinking, this guy is a monster. And I knew he was good, right up back to that AC Milan performance, I think it was, under Antonio Conte. But there is so much talent in that Spurs midfield. I think if we were to ask Frank now, do you know your best Spurs 11? I think he would probably still say no, but I think over the past 2 games, he's certainly got a lot closer to knowing it, particularly that midfield. And even Richarlison and Kolo Muani have really kind of stepped up in the past couple of weeks. I think Richarlison has been kind of a chance magnet, really. I know he hasn't finished them, but Kolo Muani as well, just looking so sharp and lively, and it's really kind of driving the team on. So in terms of that midfield, going back to what you say, I think it's fair that there is going to be rotation over the Christmas period because there's just too many matches. But I think first choice now, I think Xavi is the kind of 10, Gray is the 8, and then it's probably it's tough to call between Paulinho and Bentancur. I would go for Paulinho personally. I think Bentancur has kind of dropped off in terms of his levels over the past sort of month or so. But that's really looking quite strong now, particularly with what you just said, that it's naturally a 6, 8 and 10. So it's a real spine building, and I think that's important because Spurs...
I was going to pretend you're Thomas Frank for a minute.
Yeah.
What's your best 11?
Are we accounting for the fact Destiny Udogie is currently injured, or...?
I'm going to allow you Destiny.
Okay.
I'm not going to allow you any of the long-term
injuries. Long-terms.
Yeah.
So I think the back four probably picks itself with Udogie, Porro as the fullbacks, Romero, Van der Ven. Then my personal pick is Polinia, Gray is the 8, Xavi is the 10, Kudus right. I'd probably still go for Johnson on the left, with Kolo Muani through the middle. I'm huge on Kolo Muani at the moment. That said, I think it could probably work with Kolo Muani off the left, with Richarlison as the striker as well. What about you?
I'm very similar to you. I think Gray and Bergwijn
That's a good sign, surely.
Yeah. I think
we're
so.
Seeing.
Absolutely. I think Bergwijn and Gray are probably interchangeable. I think in that kind of the 8. I'm kind of going back and forth over Kolomuani on the left or Johnson, and much depends on Richarlison. Richarlison, like, it was a great. I thought you were going to say babe magnet, and then I realised you said chance magnet. I was like, okay, I think he has a partner and a baby, but yeah, fair enough. He could be a babe magnet. I think he is someone that probably gets his fair share of criticism because he does have games where he looks a little bit kind of ungainly and awkward, and he should have had I think he had the early chance on Tuesday night. He had a late chance that he fluffed when it came across. But like you say, the ball, he I don't think it's coincidence the ball finds him in these areas. He is finding those positions where the ball will come. So I agree with that. But yeah, I think I might lean towards yours of having Johnson on the left and all that. And I'd still feel like that left wing is something they're going to investigate in January. I think so. I mean, Alasdair, he spoke about Alasdair afterwards about he started the game really well, had a really great chance in the second half, but otherwise was pretty anonymous. I think that man-to-man press that we spoke about, it probably harmed him more than anyone else. He couldn't really seem to shake off the guy he was with too much, which is a shame because 30 seconds in, he absolutely flew past him. But yeah, no, I think I'm with your team. I think that's probably roughly what I would go for. I mean, Spence has some very good games, but I do like the natural balance that Doggy brings. So Spence for me has got to probably usurp Porro, but I think Porro just has that quality with his delivery that Spence doesn't have.
Totally agree. I think defensively you can't really question Spence in terms of 1v1 ability, and Porro's a bit more attacking, of course, with those incredible crosses, although they haven't been on the money in recent weeks. But I think Spurs have good options, and that's what's important. I think there's quite a few players that you can interchange, and it doesn't affect the team too much. Ali, we're about halfway through, so it's the time to talk about the benefits of using NordVPN.
Of course, people will be 100%. People will be well versed in this now. My deep affection for NordVPN and my use of it, and it sounds like I'm being sarcastic, but I'm not. I really do use it wherever I go. And you might be heading on a festive getaway. Someone might be off to some Christmas market somewhere. I know one of the journalists certainly has just been to France and Germany France and Switzerland to a couple of Christmas markets, and I was imploring to use NordVPN because when you're abroad, you can use it, and it can be cheaper than using your. It can be easy for you to get back and watch anything that you have back home. You might be missing a show if you head abroad, but you can still watch it because you can make your device thinking it's back in the UK. Or likewise, if you're not going to get away this Christmas and you're at home, but you want to be able to see stuff from abroad that you might not be able to watch normally, you can switch your device to thinking it's in that country. And also the other benefits of that is you might want to book a holiday or something to another place, and it's normally where holidays are, another place, and you can book them and you could switch your phone to think it's in the destination country, which might get you cheaper flights, hotel, anything like that as well. It's a really helpful thing. And on top of all of that, security-wise, it helps you when you want to use public Wi-Fi and things like that, just to help lock down your phone or your tablet or whatever it is, just that little bit more to stop those nasty people getting into it and taking all of your important stuff. And on top of that, the key thing is NordVPN is the fastest VPN in the world, and that means no buffering, no lagging, and you can stream your favorite shows from anywhere in the world without your bandwidth throttling. No one wants their bandwidth throttled. It sounds incredibly painful. But to get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/talking Tottenham, and our link will give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. And on top of that, there's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the podcast episode description box. Before we move on, I want to let people know about the amazing question that you posed to us all.
I was going to bring this up.
Oh, honestly, it has to be asked, and I want everyone in comments, whether it's on, Apple, Spotify, anything. I want to know, or on the YouTube, I want to know your answer to this, because it was a fascinating question that Ryan put to us as a group of Spurs journalists, which engrossed us so much that we've got to admit we missed the whistle of the second half because we were still discussing it. I'll tell you what, I'll let you do it. What was the question you put to the group as we were standing downstairs at halftime?
Right. So my question was, if you were to play every minute of a Premier League season up front for, let's say, Tottenham in this case, how many goals would you score? And the reason I ask this is because a lot of people go, well, you wouldn't score any. The fitness is miles off it. The touch is probably, reminiscent of a trampoline. But I think for me, in terms of pure anticipation and fortune, there has to be a couple of goals a season where you can just tap in a rebound. If there's a parry, or say Christian Romero flicks it on like he did on Tuesday night from a corner. If you just time your run, I don't think you have to be the greatest footballer in the world to maybe convert just purely on a basis of luck. I think the interesting element is, some people might say, if you played for Manchester City, where there's a lot of attacking play and there's so many balls put across the 6-yard box, we're talking about padding your stats up a little bit. But from a Spurs perspective, let's make it relevant to listeners. Let us know in the comments how many you think you're grabbing. I reckon I could get 3. What you saying?
I just love this. Honestly, we were cracking up while really enjoying this question, because we all had such differing views as well. One journalist, who I won't name, I think said he would get 5 or 6 or something. And it was just like, where I'm at with it, and it's a great question, because this is exactly what football's about, isn't it? We're armchair fans and all this sort of stuff, as we all believe we can do a better job than, we've just been talking about Richarlison. And the thing is, and this is my view on it, absolutely, is that, I've never played at any decent level, just a bit of Saturday football, bit of Sunday football. And I know we know how fast that game is. The top level of the game, especially the Premier League. I mean, you're getting top players from across the world that come into the Premier League, and the game's just like, vroom, it just flies them by. And we're seeing top strikers not even get the ball in there. Gregor Reziak, I'm looking at you. I know I'm not maybe saying he's a top striker, but he came to Spurs. I'm trying to think if he even scored a goal for Spurs. So my thinking is, if someone that is very good in the professional game cannot get even maybe 1 goal, how are we going to fit just old randomers like us up front on a pitch? I get your logic about the ball could just break to you at any moment. You might get, I would imagine I think Man City, I take your point. I think maybe you could get Cherky could take about 3 players out of the game and pass it to you, and you might be able to get the ball in the net. But my goodness.
One counter argument, Ali, is that
go on.
If you play 90 minutes of every game, so I'll take what you say on some of these professionals.
I feel sorry for the team that has us playing for 90 minutes in the Premier League.
It's a relegation battle written all over it. But if you're playing 90 minutes of every game, I feel like, 3 is probably ambitious looking back. That's a terrible shout. But you've got to back yourself to get at least 1 goal, surely. If you're playing every minute. We've not even talked about penalties.
No, that's true. But I would also say on that, the difference in taking a penalty in, say, Sunday League with one guy and his dog watching, to having to having a big South Stand full of 17,500 people roaring at you. So just a little bit of a step away from the norm there, but it caused such a debate at half time. And like I said, we all went out and, oh no, it's kicked off. And I'm just desperate to see what fans think about that. Would they even get a goal, or are you relying on pure luck for the ball to fall your way 4 yards out and to prod it home? And maybe that's all you need. I know it's coming away from Tottenham a little bit, but let's put you in this Tottenham team. Honest answers, not like, I'm a 25 goal a season striker or whatever. Let us know, if we put you up front for 90 minutes of every game in a Tottenham season with this current squad, Xavi behind you, Kudus on the right. Could you score, and how many would you score? So let us know in the comments, because we had great fun with it.
Super. Ali, I don't think you actually gave us how many you'd score.
As someone that plays up front, I reckon, yes. I think if one fell my way, I would maybe claim a lucky goal at some point. It'd probably have to be in the first 5 minutes before I got absolutely knackered at the pace of the Premier League. But I'd go for one goal across the whole season. I'm going to be modest on it, rather than my heart on that one.
Do you know what, though? I would hope that goal came at home, because I know how popular you are amongst Spurs fans. I think there'd be a pitch invasion and the game would be abandoned.
I've scored a few goals in the media games against the Spurs Comlot, but that is not, unfortunately, going up against. That's the other thing we're not even taking into account. A Premier League centre-back. Absolutely getting to the ball in front of you every single time and anticipating. But hey, we've probably done enough on our little diversion. Back to Tottenham. One thing I wanted to chat about with you, Ali, was the attendance on Tuesday night. Slightly lower than maybe we were expecting. I think we actually said on one of the previous episodes that the fact Sonny was coming back, probably would boost ticket sales. But the attendance was 47,281. I think it was around the 60,000 mark against Brentford, so a considerable drop-off. What did you make of that, and what's your kind of perception of that? Or have you done kind of any digging into why that might be the case? Yeah, I think there's different elements to it. I think, of course, there is the natural element of pricing and people getting near Christmas and thinking, I don't really want to spend money on a midweek match against kind of maybe perceived lower European opposition, and and prices being too high, certainly in some areas of the stadium. The other element to it, which from what I understand, is I don't think they were able to put it on general sale because of a worry about Slavia fans buying tickets and then getting in amongst the Tottenham fans, which obviously could lead to all kinds of problems. On the Slavia fans, very loud, very noisy, very loud after the game as well, as they did that little thing when the players kneel in front of them. And Kinski went over and had his
joined them,
moment.
didn't he? Yeah.
He did. Not a huge fan of the pride flag having to be moved, which apparently came from a request from Slavia to UEFA, and the UEFA requested that Tottenham move it. The reason given for it was that the Spurs branding on it would have caused it to be a natural thing to be like, potentially destroyed or ripped up. And it's like, okay, if that's what we're going to use as the reason for it, I have my slight doubts over whether that's exact reasoning, but there you go. It's never a good look for me, but there you go.
No.
And attendance-wise, it's a shame really, because if it was able to go on general sale with Sonny coming back, I think a lot of people would have wanted to come and see Sonny say farewell. So it's a shame. It's weird, isn't it? We're talking about almost 50,000 people being bad, like as in a bad attendance, whereas most stadiums would love that. Most clubs would love that. But for Tottenham, you could see the empty seats, a lot of the upper tier. There was a lot of empty rows up there as well. But yeah, I mean, someone put to me on social media, and it's quite right. It's a shame that at a certain point when they realised that it wasn't going to be taken up, I think they might have done this in past. Offer it to local schools, offer get some kind of kids in there with their parents and stuff, and get your next generation of Tottenham fans in there. There must be a way to have done that, unless it was just too late and they had to give people a chance. I don't know, but it's a shame because, it should have been a full stadium to see Sonny and a really good Champions League win as well. But unfortunately, it wasn't.
Just to ask you something, Ali, out of interest, if season ticket holders decided they didn't want to go on Tuesday, do they give their ticket back to the club? And I guess that maybe couldn't be redistributed because it wasn't on general sale, or do they just not go and the ticket just doesn't go anywhere else?
Not entirely up on tickets, because we're very fortunate in that we kind of get in there via our press pass rather than having to go through the ticketing route. But I would imagine it would open up to members to get a ticket. I think that would be the next level. I'm sure people can tell us in the comments who maybe tried or couldn't go and things like that. So I would imagine it goes to members, and then maybe there wasn't quite the take up from people. Again, like I said, prices near Christmas and all of that. But it's a shame. But hopefully, if they keep playing nice football, everyone's going to want to come and watch them. It's again another knock-on effect.
Definitely, and the same also applies to the U team because they recorded their biggest ever UEFA Youth League victory over Slavia on Tuesday afternoon. An amazing 9-1 demolition of the Czech side. The key talking points really, Luca Williams-Barnett scoring a ridiculous 5 goals, one incredible free kick, and Teenan Thompson as well, hat-trick. He's a player that really has impressed me. I think there's been a lot of discussion around Williams-Barnett being kind of the gem of the Spurs academy. But when I was in Monaco covering you, Ali, Thompson was brilliant. And I really like him, particularly given that there's been this kind of left-wing struggles at the club this season or, you know, a spot. I would like to see him maybe get some kind of opportunity. But talk us through that afternoon that you had watching the Young Guns.
Yeah, I love doing that, the double bill on a Champions League day. It's so cool because you kind of get to see the potential stars of the future and also gives you a little insight into kind of the opposition club and how they run and how their youth kind of talent is looking as well. And yeah, they were brilliant. Spurs, Wayne Bennett's under-19s. They just ran riot against a Slavia young team that had technical quality, but they were a little bit kamikaze with their defending, and their defending was a very high line. And essentially, when you've got someone like Callum Olasese in the middle, he got 3 assists on the day. He's very experienced. Really shouldn't be playing at that level anymore. He's ripe for a loan. He really is.
Yeah.
Every time he got the ball, he just threaded it through to Williams-Barnett or Thompson, and they were just flying away. And I mean, Williams-Barnett is he is ridiculous.
He's a gem, isn't he?
He is an absolute gem, and I'm always wary of going overboard on really young players. You know, he's just recently turned 17 because there's so many factors in their development. You know, there's injury, there's working hard, there's listening to what you're being told and things like that. And I've seen so many talented players that don't kind of just make that next jump, that next step.
Yeah.
Because it is the biggest jump of their career, the one into the first team. But my hope for him is that certainly a lot of this, but all of the bunch really that are currently coming through all seem to be very kind of head screwed on. They've got good families around them. You always see the families at these youth games, and they always seem like really good people. And we'll start with Luca. He's just reminds me of Gaza. There's Gaza elements to him. The way he plays, the freedom, the raw instinct of, I'm just going to take this ball and you are not getting near me. He can just, he scored 5 goals, which is now the record. The previous record was Troy Parrott's back in 2019. I think he scored 4 against Red Star Belgrade in that competition. Yeah. And now, it's just another milestone for Luca. He keeps kind of smashing them. And the quality of the goals, their right foot, left foot. There was a free kick from miles out that flew in the top corner. He's got this ability to look like he's about to shoot, stop the ball dead, defender flies past, and he'll switch it to his other foot and curl it into the far corner. He's so both-footed.
Yeah.
Just got to strengthen up. That's going to be the next natural thing. At 17, you're not going to be your physical kind of maximum that you're going to be as a player. That will come. But, yeah, terrific talent. And it was nice to see him him and Callum both whisked away with the first team. It's just a shame late on that, 3-0 up, they couldn't bring him on. It was almost Luca. It was Lucas that came on. Bergvall came on instead. And I get that. He needs to get minutes too. But it will come. His Champions League debut will come. I'm sure of it. If he can keep going down the road he's going down, he is right up there with the brightest academy prospects they've had in years. And Tina, I'm with you. I think he is really... I think Luca naturally gets a lot of the limelight.
Yeah.
He's a fun character as well. When we're having press conferences after it's finished, often a lot of youth players come out into the reception area and you'll always hear him. He's the loud character. He's always chatty. Occasionally he's like popped his head round the door and said hello to journalists and all that sort of stuff, which, God, when I was 17, yeah, I love that. When I was 17, I would never have done that to a room full of like adults who are kind of writing about the game kind of thing. He's a very funny character, but Teenan, a little bit quieter, but
does his talking on the pitch, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. So direct, the way he goes at the defenders. Obviously, he got a hat-trick as well, and I'm really kind of excited about what he can do. And a nice little aside maybe for people, you might have noticed that both Tina and Luca, among their celebrations, did the old Xavi phone call thing.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is apparently they've just really hit it off with Xavi. In first team training when they've been involved, he's really kind of, I don't want to go as far as say like taking him under his wing, but I don't know, maybe it be. I just don't want to go overboard and like that. Maybe don't know too much in depth, but certainly I know that they have struck up this quite fun little relationship. He enjoys kind of training with them because they are two real attacking talents. I mean, it's mad. He's only 5 years older than them. It's like,
I know,
because he is so young himself.
It's crazy.
And I noticed he actually reposted their the celebrations, the photos of their celebrations, and so they're just this not really nice thing, and that's kind of fitting because the guy that used to wear his number, Sonny, was very big on integrating the young players into the first team. Really, really, it was a big thing for him. He wanted to make them feel comfortable. He would always talk to them. I mean, we saw him having a big hug with Luca in the tunnel after the game, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he obviously will remember him from being involved in first team training and pre-season and also last season. I just thought that was a really nice aside. But some real talented players coming through. You've got, oh my goodness, you've got Luca, you've got Teenan, you've got Malachi Hardy at the back as well, and
like Harry Byrne.
Harry Byrne,
he goes under the radar a little bit. But
great delivery.
I've seen him; he's been so good, consistent, great. Yeah, like you say, great delivery. But it's really exciting. The other one I wanted to touch on, Ali, Janai Byfield signing a new deal. Talk to us about that because he looks a phenomenal prospect, but he hasn't quite had that opportunity. But he is still so young.
Yeah, I mean, he's been on the bench 6 times. I'm going to say. I think there's. I think maybe it's 2 in the Premier League, 2 in the Champions League,
and the
1
Cup.
in the Carabao and Super Cup as well. Despite the fact he turned 17 on Saturday. It's like I am so jealous of how much these guys achieve so young. It is incredible.
And also it's the year they're born. When I see it, I still kind of feel I'm relatively young. Well, I'm 1997, and then you see these guys and they're sort of like 2007, 2008, and you're like, oh my God.
Oh man, now you're making me feel old, knowing how kind of young you are as well. I'm not even going to say my birth year, but he is a really talented centre back. He actually used to play as a striker, so I think it gives him that little understanding of where the striker's going to go. He's very comfortable on the ball. Got his first professional deal, which is great. And again, another one with a really lovely family around him. I was very fortunate that on the flight back, I think it was going out and coming back from the Super Cup, just happened to realise that 2 of the people were his parents, and they were the loveliest people, and they were so proud of their 16-year-old son, being part of a Premier League squad's UEFA Super Cup game against PSG in Italy. It is incredible. Astounding. Oh, it's amazing, and they were just the nicest people, and you can see when a player's got a really good background like that. He's got everything in his locker to be a really good defender. He's bulked up a little bit. I've noticed that in some of the recent kind of photos and actually seeing him up close as I was walking away from the game and he was walking off on Tuesday. He's definitely starting to strengthen and bulk up. I guess there's you can't go overboard on that when you're 16, 17 because I guess you can stunt certain areas of your development. But yeah, he's going to be some player. I like James Rousewell as well, the right back. When you talk about physical, he is huge for a guy that I think he's maybe 17, 18 as well. And he's been involved in the first team setup. He scored the last goal, the 9th goal, and had a driving run that set up, I think it was one of Luca's goals. There's so many players, and I feel bad that I haven't even mentioned there's so many others. There's younger ones, there's like George Feeney coming through, and Boast that's come in as well, I think from Leeds. There's so many young players, the Iro brothers as well, and there are tons of them coming through. So I just want Spurs to bring them on, and bring them in both sense, bring them on development-wise, but bring them on in games as well. Feel like Spurs, you look at someone like Kane and King, and then you're really struggling for the big, long-serving players. You can go with the Winks and the Skips and people like that. Carter Vickers obviously has gone on to have a good career as well, and I mean they just haven't successfully produced this conveyor belt of of academy talent, and they need to do that. Hopefully they're getting towards that, but they've got to have the chances. And this is the big dilemma. As media and fans, we want transfers. We want to talk about in January about who you're bringing in. And like, you know, I was just saying there, and I made the fall into my own trap. I'm saying about bringing a left winger in. And then there's a part of me that's thinking, Mikey Moore's really kind of starting to explode at Rangers on loan. We kind of forgot about him. And he's got to come back. And then we talk about a centre-back, bringing in another centre-back maybe. And then we've just been talking about Malachi and Janai, but you've also got Luka Vuskovic doing incredible things at Hamburg and scoring an amazing goal with his heel the other day.
Yeah.
Mikey got 2 against Kilmarnock as well. There's got to be this balance between having a pathway for them and creating the strongest possible team you can. And I guess that's something that Spurs haven't managed to do. And that's why they've got the homegrown issue, which has caused them such problems with the squad. We haven't even spoke about really how Tell got into the squad as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain exactly how that happened?
Yeah, so there is a rule that's been newly introduced this year by UEFA, which means if a player that is registered within a Champions League squad has been injured or is ill for up to 60 days, providing the club can provide proof of that, they can make one change in their squad before match day 6 of the Champions League. Obviously, Tell was the man drafted in for Solanke, but as we understand it, the small print on the UEFA website, so to speak, does say that once Solanke is fit, he could naturally come straight back in for Tell, which is an interesting change. We also saw Arsenal do something similar with Gabriel Jesus. So a number of clubs have kind of called upon this. I think the question, Ali, that fans want to know really is why maybe did Frank not do this earlier when, you know, Solanke's been out for so long now, and does it maybe indicate that Solanke might be out for longer than expected? What's your understanding of that?
Okay, two very different questions.
$1 million questions. Sorry.
Yeah, no, they're good questions. So first one, could he have done it earlier? He claimed on Tuesday in the press conference that he couldn't have because it wouldn't have been the 60 days, which leads me to wonder whether they're counting it from the minor procedure he had.
Yeah.
Which I think
would
would
make most sense, wouldn't it?
Maybe October the 1st, which would roughly put us around the 60-day mark. And obviously that would lead to the question of, but he was injured before that. I mean, he hasn't stepped on a pitch since August, has he? But I think that's what they must be kind of going from. So that's why. Another quick thing to insert in there, because some people might be wondering, how can you swap a homegrown player for, an association trained player for a non-locally trained player? The reason is Spurs had their 4 association trained players that they could put in there Jed, Archie, Brennan and Ben Davis. So they were able to have Solanke kind of go into the main group, and when he's in the main group he can then get swapped for Tell comes in. And in terms of Solanke, I mean, Thomas Frank was very clear he has not had a setback. He said in Tuesday's press conference, and from what I understand, the kind of fears that he might be out for another couple of months are kind of wide of the mark. It will be hopefully before that he is back. And if that is the case, maybe we get him back before, you know, the Champions League phase is done. I'm not saying definite because let's be honest, this is Tottenham and anything can happen with injuries. And also we've already seen with Solanke, it's been far longer than he could have anticipated. He was down on the sidelines, wasn't he, with Madders greeting Sonny, but he needs to get back. He's such an important part of this Tottenham team as well.
He is, and it almost feels ridiculous that he's still out, because I remember at the start of the season, the kind of indications from Frank were that he would probably be back sooner rather than later. And I know there's been some complications with that, and that was why he had the minor surgical procedure. But I mean, we're getting nearly to, we're at the end of 2025 now, but once you get into January, it's start of, you know, the second half of the season, you think, you know, Solanke's he's barely been involved this season at all, and he's such a big player, you know, a marquee addition. So I just wanted to touch upon, Ali, before we sign off, the standings. Obviously, loosely, Spurs have been sort of targeting that top 8 finish, which we won't know until the end of January. I don't think it's a disaster if they don't. I think it will involve playing an extra playoff round, I think before or after the second North London derby this season. So from that sense, you know, it's not ideal, but I think, you do want that top 8 finish if it's attainable. So at the moment, just to read you the standings, unfortunately, Arsenal top with maximum points on 18, Bayern on 15, PSG on 13, Man City and Atalanta are also on 13, Inter 6th with 12, Real Madrid with 12, Atletico 8th with 12, and then you've got Liverpool on 12, also Dortmund and Spurs on 11, Newcastle and Chelsea on 10. Obviously, the key sticking point really is that Spurs go to Dortmund they host Dortmund in January before going to Eintracht Frankfurt. So 2 wins from those final 2 games would be up to 17 points, and I'm sure that would probably be enough, Ali. What's your view on that? And also, obviously, Mickey van der Ven suspended for Dortmund, which is a big blow.
Just remembered exactly the same thing. It's just like we didn't even mention Mickey. Yeah, it was the one negative on the night. Really silly throwing of his arm backwards as well. You can see Thomas Frank was really peed off about that. It was
a bit harsh, Ali.
You reckon?
I don't know if I've seen the wrong replay, but I thought he was kind of just trying to shield him off, and the bloke made a meal of it. But I don't know. He did also hold on to the ball after, didn't he? So I didn't know if
that's what did it.
Oh, that was it.
I think that's what did it. I think
that was.
He might have got away with it, and then it was like a little. Someone put it on social media of it's like when your big brother nicks something of yours and you can't get it back. And he was walking away with the ball, and this guy's like, "Give me the ball." And I think because he held on to it, caused that little fuss that caused the referee to look over. I think the referee completely then made up his mind. I'm booking him for the original foul. If he's going to also be, a bit difficult about it. I could be wrong, but it looked like that. But yeah, he's obviously going to be a big miss. Thomas Frank very frustrated. He kept like tapping his temples as if to say like, use your head, think kind of thing. I think we can probably say they're all but hopefully through. Bearing in mind what they 11th and it's 24 places.
Yeah.
Is it 11th you say they're in?
11th, yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're almost through because it would take everyone below them losing or which is winning, which is not going to physically possible to happen.
No.
I think it's a bigger. I think they certainly have got it within them to win both games. It might still not be enough. That is a pain in the backside that is going to be scheduled after North London Derby when clearly, as you just said, that lot down the road are not going to be playing a playoff game. So they're going to be kind of have less to kind of focus on at that point. I think Dortmund's going to be tough away. I think if they can keep this home form going and this European record, which is 23 matches unbeaten at home, I think now. So over 23 or 24, then they should beat Frankfurt. Sorry, it's the other way around, isn't it? Dortmund at home. Yeah. I did that at first in my talking points. I had to change it. Yeah, Dortmund at home. I guess that gives them a good. Yeah, I'm going to change that completely now. Yeah, I think they'll win both, but I think they might just somehow miss out and finish like 9th or something really frustratingly.
I think if they win both, they'll be through in the top 8. I really do. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I know, obviously, it is tight, and I was looking actually randomly at Atalanta's fixtures. I can't remember who they're playing, but they're playing really poor sides down the bottom. So they were one of the guaranteed ones. And on paper, they're probably the side that you'd say were likely to drop out. So it will be tight, but I think 17 points, I think that's a really strong total. But we'll have to wait and see. It would be such a boost. And I think, actually, on paper, Spurs have done really well in the Champions League this year. I think if they had beaten Bodo, that would have been the kind of the result that probably would have got them through in the top 8 come the end of it. But they won at Frankfurt last year.
Only lost once, haven't they, to the champions?
Yeah, exactly. There's no shame in that whatsoever. I think Frankfurt have been really poor this year as well. Been on the end of some real sort of heavy results. I think they were beaten 6-0 by Leipzig, if I'm not mistaken, last weekend. And Dortmund have been strong at home in the Champions League, but I always think away they're not quite the same side. I think they did draw 4-4 with Juventus at the start of the competition, but Spurs are at home. They've got that little bit of formidability in the Champions League or Europe, so to speak. So I think it's going to be really interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it all unfolds in January. We've got a little break now while we get stuck into the Premier League and then the FA Cup as well, just before the return of Champions League football.
Yeah, it's a weird kind of, technically this time the festive break isn't as awful as it has been. It's kind of spread out.
Is that to do with the Carabao Cup, is it? The Spurs are not involved anymore, or just the scheduling?
I think the scheduling, I think this kind of moving away, I think there's just one Boxing Day game, isn't there? So I think Spurs have now got this 6 days before the, from Forest to Liverpool. And then I think it's 8 days from Liverpool to Palace. Mm-hmm. Then it goes mad again. And then it is a game every 3-4 days, pretty much till the end of January. So yes, they are probably going to need some reinforcements, or maybe a certain Swede and an England international striker would be nice coming back at just the right time. I should also say, only very quickly before we go, people ask us before every press conference, ask about Solanke, ask about Kulusevski. We try. We do so. Honestly, the creativity that goes into our questions to try and get something out of him. The other day, I asked him about Kulusevski taking a 10 o'clock dip in a Scandinavian snowy lake just to try and get something out of Frank on Kulusevski, because as he answered in his press conference on Tuesday night, is his stock answer now, I won't be speaking about Solanke, about Dom or Kulusevski until they are back. And that is it. So I get that people constantly ask, why did no one ask about this? And it's like, because we know what the answer is right now, because he constantly says it. We're not going to hear anything until they're back, unfortunately. And I know it's frustrating. The mystery surrounding it all is a bit mad. But this is injury stuff. And Spurs are a club that are a little bit funny about medical privacy and stuff. Mm-hmm. They don't put stuff out unless the player expressly agrees to it. So, yeah, I'm sorry it's frustrating, but we are trying, honestly. Some of the ridiculous questions we've come out with just to try and steer him in the direction of it, but he's just foiling us at every turn right now.
What I love about that, Ali, is that Thomas Frank is such a nice man. You've just gradually seen him get more and more irritated, and now it's just it's about as firm as he's going to get, but it's still not really telling anyone off.
No, you can see it coming a mile away, can't he, as well? Yeah. You can see here we go. It's a Kulusevski or Solanke question.
But yeah, hopefully we will see them back in action sooner rather than later. 2 big misses for Spurs. Ali, you're off to Forest on Sunday. Big game, chance to make it 3 wins under Frank for the first time since he joined the club.
This was meant to be the Postecoglou game. And it was like, everyone was kind of like, oh, and that just didn't happen. So now we get Dyche ball, and that is obviously going to be a real physical challenge for Spurs. He is going to have to put a few fresh faces in, but I think maybe the little gap Tuesday to Sunday is probably long enough that the bulk of the team he wants to play should be okay. Got to be careful with those fullbacks because he's only got the 2 right now. Oh, very quickly on fullbacks, Ben Davies, great reception when he came on. Amazing ovation. It kind of took me aback. I wasn't expecting it, but I guess first minutes of the season, 11th year at the club, Sonny's best mate. It was all kind of set up nicely for him to come back into the team. I think Spurs need to impose their game on Forest rather than let Sean Dyche's way of playing the game affect them, because if they do that, they'll struggle. But if they kind of can keep this attacking movement going, be strong from set pieces, which is a strength of theirs this season, then combined, they should get a result and, get that momentum going into 2026. And hopefully the Thomas Frank era can properly kick off.
Definitely. And I think it's helped probably by the fact that Forest were beaten 3-0 at Everton last weekend, just because it started to put together quite a few good results under Dyche with the 3-0 win at Anfield. Had some good results in the Europa League as well. So I think maybe it is the perfect time to play them. But
don't say that.
Spurs might have a funny way of showing me up on Sunday. But you can follow all of Ali's coverage from the City Ground on football.london. Ali, been a great episode. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too, mate.
Make sure you let us know in the comments how many Premier League goals you would muster as Thomas Frank's number 9. And don't forget to get your discount of NordVPN plan. Go to nordvpn.com/talkingtottenham. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the podcast episode description box below.